Okay, guys, here we are, episode 9 already. Myself, Jeremy Booyer, Jeremy Sutton again. This week, we're going to have Josh Carroll, promoter of Brownstown, and recently the new owner of I-55 Speedway. I mean,
Man,
yeah,
how's it? Does that give you chills? Just you know, thinking I'm the owner and promoter of you know,
one of the most.
yeah,
I know we're local to Peevely, but iconic tracks in the nation. I mean,
right,
if you don't
yeah,
like Peevely, you're crazy.
right,
Well, I gotta agree with you. It was always a favorite track of mine, and my kid, he runs a B mod, and he loves it. It's his favorite track too. If I'll say, hey, you get to race, one time this weekend, where do you want to go? Well, I want to go to I-55. So he don't get to race there, or didn't at the time as much, because sometimes on Saturdays we didn't get out of Brownstown in time to get there. So we're gonna have to definitely make different arrangements this year.
I mean, it's just crazy to see. I mean, I wouldn't even know what to even be sitting in your shoes to, because I mean, I scroll through Facebook and I bet you at least once or twice a day you got the video of Kyle Larson setting fast time at Peevely on there every single day. It's on there. And I'm like, man, that's
right,
us. That's Peevely, man. That's
yeah,
that's our place. That's
yeah,
one of our home local places. And to see half the Outlaw guys be like, oh man, we're going to Eldora and then we're going to Knoxville. But man, in 3 weeks after that, we're headed to Peevely.
yep.
And I mean, for them to say stuff like that's just got to be crazy that you're like, yeah, I own that thing now.
It is something that's going to be well. I put my whole life invested in it, so it's going to be maybe a little bit of a challenge, but I think that we'll get through it. And I've talked to some sprint car guys down here, and they're like, oh man, that's our favorite track, and that does just almost give you chills. I mean,
Right.
when you're standing there talking to you know Kyle Larson or somebody, and they just tell you something like that. I had a well-known modified driver come up to me, and he said, "Hey, I've been following you on Facebook." I didn't even know he knew who I was, and he waved, and I looked behind me to see who he was waving at, because I didn't think he was waving at me, but there wasn't anybody behind me. So I said something to him, and he said, "Man, I've been following you on Facebook, and your track out at Brownstown is just amazing." He said, "I ain't been there, but he said I've been watching your track surface and seeing what you're doing there." And he said, "Just wanted to let you know you're doing a great job." And it was that was pretty cool. And that was David Strimmy come up to me and said that. So,
Oh
you
man.
know, I thought, hell, he don't know who Josh Carroll is. I thought he had to be waving at somebody else.
So how are you going to manage to promote two premier tracks? Have you thought about that yet? I mean, I know you have, but I know
Yeah,
it'll be a chore.
we put a lot of thought into it, and I got a couple different options with some help, and I got a buddy of mine going to retire here before long, so he's my main track helper. So uh, that's going to help me a whole bunch. Um, it's going to be a little bit of a difficult task. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna have some learning curves of figuring out what to do and when and where. And um, I have got the schedule where if we've got an outlaw show at Peevely, there's nothing at Brownstown. So
Right.
it's if it's a regular night of racing, then we can race at Brownstown also. So it might get where after the first or second feature, I might have to leave Brownstown and go to Peevely and put some water on the racetrack or something like that. But I don't think it's nothing that we can't manage.
Right.
How long have you actually been the promoter of Brownstown?
3 years. This will be the
Okay.
third year.
Because I mean, I've been there a few times. We actually ran micros there. Well, shit, this was probably 15 years or something ago. We used to run micros every once in a while there, but I haven't been there in a long, long time. But I wasn't sure how long you've actually been the promoter there or not. But now that the Peevely thing come along, like next year, how you going to go about that? Are you going to give Brownstown up and really focus on Peevely, or are you
No,
thinking
I'm gonna
you'll
I'm
keep it
gonna
control?
I'm gonna try to do them both, unless it's just a huge problem this year, which I don't think it's going to be. I had a trucking company, and I've got rid of some of my trucks to get rid of some of that stress there. So I've got it down where I can manage it. I got, three of my best guys. I kept them, and they're going to stay working for me, and we'll keep that going as well. As long as everything works out, I'm figuring on just doing everything.
Man, those trucking companies.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to dig into that because those guys must roll in money.
they must.
Because we did Coles County, with Brian Reich, and he's got some transport company. Then our buddy Sam Coleman down here has tons of trucks and all this different stuff. And seems like everybody we run into that's got cool stuff has a trucking company.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you about the trucking company. You can make a lot of money and you can spend a lot more. It's when things are good, they're good, and when they're bad. I mean, we blew 2 motors this year in trucks, and we're setting probably $100,000 in motors and transmissions, and that ain't counting tires and oil and filters, and it's it's good when it's good. That's all I can tell you, and it's not when it's not.
Right. I know we hear a lot of them talk about insurance stuff. So they're like, I guess having that much trucks and doing all that, that's got to be a nightmare to have, people on the road with insurance stuff.
At one time we had 2 pieces with trailers, and my insurance guy told me, he said, when the insurance company gives you a bid on an end dump, he said they don't price it for if it falls over. They price it for when it falls over.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. So back to the Peevely thing. I know, what Peevely are a lot of the Peevely track officials and things like that staying on board to help.
We're going to have a meeting with them here in a few weeks. We've had just everything in the world go wrong trying to get this deal finalized, and
right.
It's just one lawyer's doing this, and one lawyer's on vacation, and we're getting the new sewers put in, and we just ain't got everything quite done yet. I mean, it's a done deal, but it's
right.
We're probably a couple weeks out from signing papers, and we didn't really want to meet and change things and hire and fire when we didn't actually own it.
Correct. Yeah. I know I first found out about the sale of Peevely around Thanksgiving, and I'm like, there ain't no way. You hear track rumors every year, and then wasn't long after that, I guess a couple of weeks later, that PRI that you dropped the news. Well, how was the reaction to that? How that had to be wild.
Huge. I mean, it was huge. It's crazy the amount of Facebook messages I get every day. I mean, and I want to talk to everybody, and I hate to ignore anybody, but you get people that just ask questions that don't need to be asked yet, and I don't have a problem answering them, but sometimes you can't get them all answered. I mean, they're coming in faster than you can answer them. I mean, are you going to, change the toilet paper holder and install 3 in the women's restroom? I mean, just things that's, how's the track going? What are you going to do to the track? I can't tell you how many people messaged me and said, what are you going to do to the track? And I don't even know how to tell somebody what I'm going to do to the track. I mean, it ain't like I could say, yeah, I'm going to paint something blue. I mean, I just got to do my thing to it. And I think, some people, they'll send me question marks if I don't get them answered, but I've got people trying to enter races and do all kinds of things. And I don't mind answering everybody, but if they would maybe put like 4 questions in one message and I could simplify things, it would be great at this point.
Right. Time only goes so far, right?
Yes. And I don't want people to think I'm ignoring them, because I hate that when, somebody does that to me, and I'm really not ignoring them, but sometimes it's 2 or 3 days before I can get through all the messages just to answer everybody. And that's going to slow down at some point. Everything's just new right now, and everybody's trying to figure everything out. So it's something that's going to slow down. I mean, it all come together.
I know I've been messaging back and forth for the last month or 2 months now, really, here and there, just made it known that we wanted to get you here on the podcast and talk everything once we could. And then, I guess here a couple of weeks ago, you told me we could go forward with the interview. So I know we're really excited to have you on and, kind of find out your future plans and goals and things for the, racetrack.
Well, Ray and Kenny, they've both been great to work with and their families and stuff. We was just at the beginning trying to wait until everything was finalized before we did it. And finally I was like, hey, we got to wait on this. We got to do that. There's still some things to be done, but we really need to put the schedule out and move forward with things. And they said, hey, go ahead. So, I mean, I've got the keys to the place, but I don't, we haven't not signed the final paper yet, but it's in the works.
Good. So what, what are your, one question that, a lot of people have is Peevely is it's a World of Outlaw track.
Yeah.
And, Ray and Sue and Kenny have a great working relationship with World of Outlaws. And I assume you're going to continue that stuff there.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. As a matter of fact, we've got 4 sprint car races scheduled this year, and 2 2-day ones. So it's we've actually even added a couple more to the schedule.
Yeah, I see. You got IRA. You got 2 Outlaw shows, IRA, and do you have a ASCS show?
We do. We haven't got that one confirmed yet. So okay. It'll probably be a couple weeks before I guess they figure out what we're going to do with that.
Another question that I had was back years ago, there used to be like Wednesday night Thunder shows, sprint car show, not weekly sprint car shows, but an occasional local sprint car show. Would we ever see something like that back at Peevely?
So my thoughts was once a month is kind of what I wanted to do with the sprint car thing. I got to thank the guys at Farmington. I mean, they've been more than willing. I haven't talked to them, but the series and stuff that we've talked to, they've said, hey, we'll close that night or not run sprint cars that night. And I don't want to hurt those guys either. So we just got to make it work out, and maybe they can have a night that they have late models or do something different, and that's the nights that I can run some sprint car races, and I don't mind doing more. I mean, if they said, hey, we're off this week, I'd run them. I mean, I think that I think everybody are 70% of the people that come to I-55 like sprint cars.
Yeah, I think that was a exact answer Daryl from Farmington gave us. He said, if they have a sprint car show, it's a big show, I won't be running them.
Right.
He goes, I know some of my locals, they really want to run those nights because they know a handful of the fast ones are going to go up to Peevely, so they want to cherry pick it a little bit. He goes, but I just got this track, and he goes, I'm 100% in for working with everything. We got to get the sport going. We got to get it bigger, and the only way to get it bigger is to work together, and make sure we're not fighting each other. And because I know he kind of scheduled around some Jacksonville things, and then they got a Maui show at Farmington and just some different stuff like that. And I know that he was scheduling everything around the World Outlaws for your shows. And he said, I'm going to make sure I work with everything. So I want everyone to get this sport to get back to growing it and getting everything going good.
Yep. And I'm the same way. We worked, me and Highland worked together. Almost perfect, where we didn't overlap on any of our shows together, and we've worked with Tri-City on their big shows to make sure that we're not on top of them on their big shows. And it's, the problem is there's a lot of good racetracks right here.
Oh, I know, man. That's the tough thing. You're never going to not hit a show that's going to have somebody else's show or whatever, but right. But the main big ones and everything, everybody seems around here to work really pretty good together, man. And now that we have a lot more promoters that are, race car owners or even drivers, or even, because Daryl owns cars, he raced. Same way with you. You said your boy races, and
yeah,
and I knew you were in part of maybe a modified team there for a while, or if still in, but a lot having those type of people in there, helping each other. They it seems like they understand it all a lot more. And man, that's just going to help everything out around the areas around here. And when I say our area, Missouri, Illinois type stuff, not like, 20-mile radius or nothing. I think everything from here on out, because even looking at your schedule, I have a couple micros, and we can run for $5,000-$10,000 to win somewhere every single month, if not every other week. And I was just jotting notes down of your schedule from like Browntown, Peevely, and some stuff like that. And realistically, and even with Daryl Farmington, he's having a couple 3,000 to win modified. So with just you three guys, there's a place for modifieds for 3, 5, 7, 10,000 to win every month somewhere that you guys are putting stuff on, and that's wild, man. That, I know times are different nowadays and everything, but to be able to run for that kind of money every other week or even once a month, that's huge around, Missouri, Illinois.
It is. One problem with that, though, is there's getting to be so many of them, it's hurting our weekly deal.
Yeah, yeah.
There's so many big races and stuff's getting so expensive. But you do have your weekly guy, that still wants to come out, don't care about the money, and just wants to have fun. Lord knows we ain't in this to make the money. As far as when you're racing, I've been a racer my whole life. I mean, I've drove myself. Actually, Kevin Gundecker built me my first race car back in 97, 8, somewhere in there. And I won 2 track championships the second year with it. And so I've got some experience in it. I kind of know what a racer wants on a racetrack, and I try to give that back.
Now, I can't remember if it was what was your number 70?
Nope, I was 59.
So was there a 70 who was a Carroll? Or am I imagining things?
Not that I remember, but that don't mean nothing. I just found out there's another Josh Carroll on Facebook that goes to Peebly the other day. I messaged him. I said, I bet your messenger's burning up. He said, every day.
That's funny. So where all have you run? Did you mainly run Illinois, Brownstown area? Where are you actually?
I've kind of run a little bit all over. I mean, I've run Kentucky when Calvert City was open. I run that one several times. I've run Paducah. We've been, Tri-City. Montgomery City was my favorite racetrack. I love that place. Mel Kennard is the owner of that, or was the owner of that, and he's actually going to come to Peevely and help me keep the track and stuff going over there when I'm at Brownstown. Me and him was always good friends. Matter of fact, I drove a race car for him. I don't know, probably in 2000 or something like that. Me and him kind of teamed up in a sportsman car, and we had a lot of fun together, and we've been great friends and stayed friends ever since. So we're gonna kind of put our heads together and work on the Peevely deal together. But I've raced at Jack Speedway in Florida. I've raced at East Bay. I've raced some places in Georgia. I mean, I've been all over South Carolina. We run the Fast Track series for a couple years, and we did the traveling deal with it, and that was a lot of fun too. When that series first came out, and it was an awesome series around here, and then everybody got to cheating the motors up, and it just ruined it around here. I mean, you can go down south and they still, they're teching them like they're supposed to be, and they'll tear your engine all the way down, put it in a box for you, and send you home with it. But around here, that wasn't happening, and it kind of ruined it.
Yeah, yeah. I know. Speaking of, you kind of mentioned Florida there. That's where you're at now. You've been down there for 2 weeks now or so. Yeah,
we come down. Actually, Ray Marler's in the condo next to us here, so we take him out to the racetrack with us. He likes to go watch the races, so he rides out with us, and we have a good time. And he tells me all the stories, and it's I don't know. There's a lot of racing going on down here, and there's a lot of connections here. And yeah. I mean, I've gathered a couple sponsors up since I've been here. I mean, I ain't got a check yet, but they tell me I'm getting one, so we'll see.
That's one thing I wanted to touch on is, how has the feedback been from drivers while you've been in Florida, with the breaking news? Any stories to share on stuff like that?
Well, I've had a pretty good track at Brownstown almost always. One night we got a ton of rain, like 6 inches of rain the night before, and I should have canceled it. I didn't. But I worked the track all night that night, and I was so embarrassed because it wasn't perfect. And I remember I went up to Josh Harris and I said, man, I just want to thank you for coming. I apologize for my racetrack. And he said, hey, man, I know it rained, and I've never seen anybody work on it as much as you tried to do to keep it as good as you could keep it. And he shook my hand and said, no worries, I'll be back. And that made me feel really good. But, I get where if there's a ripple in my racetrack, I go out and look at it and I think, all right, this is what I got to do to fix that. And I'm going to have a learning curve with Peevely. I mean, I don't know the dirt. I'm not a dirt god or nothing. I mean, I got to go in there and learn it and find out what it's going to do. And if my second show wasn't a World of Outlaw show, that would be awesome. But I'll get it figured out.
Yeah. Let's just hope and pray. I got the schedule pulled up here, and we'll go over that shortly. But let's just hope and pray your April 5th opening night doesn't get rained out. Missouri's notorious for rain in April, but I would hate for your first show to be a World of Outlaw show.
Me too. My first show at Brownstown, I thought was going to be a Mars show a couple years ago, and it the first night worked out. We ended up getting it in. We didn't think we was going to, but we got it in. So then the second show, because a couple had rained out, the second show was the Mars show, and that was my second show ever. And I was like, man, what am I going to do here? What if it ain't right? I mean, you don't even sleep the night before. You're thinking, what if the track comes apart? What if this happens? Did I order enough hamburgers? And so it gets to be about 6:00. People's lined up to the road. There's cars coming in everywhere. They pull on the racetrack. They're hot lapping, and all power goes out.
Oh man!
So my buddy Jason Smith, he's the president of the Fair Association there. He happens to be turkey hunting. Well, he's the one that knows where all the switches are, and at the time, I didn't know. So I'm calling him, and he's turkey hunting. He was really thrilled to hear from me. So I'm like, hey, I got big problems. So he answered, and we thought it was the concession stand that was kicking the breaker. Well, a guy got drunk at the local bar, which has got 7 bar stools, and did a donut out front and hit a telephone pole and knocked transformer down, and the whole town was out of power. So I went to Matt Curl and I said, what are we going to do? He said, we probably got about an hour. So we ended up getting a generator and running our scoring system, and we qualified and hot lapped everybody. And about the time we got done with qualifying and it was just getting almost too dark to race, the power come back on.
Oh man.
Let's hope that doesn't happen ever again, right?
Well, if you watched Volusia last night, other than they got a lot of lights, a whole bunch of their lights went out in 1 and 2. They're about, I don't know, I think it was a B main or C main or something there. But I turned to Ann Schrader. She was standing next to me, and I said, nothing ever happens unless it's a big night.
Right. I know we had, like we previously mentioned, we had Daryl with Farmington on last week, and their Queens Royal, that's their staple event. And last year, Queens Royal, somehow the lines got cut for their timing and scoring system, so they didn't have transponders. Their scale wasn't working. It's just one of those. I think they had microphone, PA problems in the crowd. It never fails.
Somebody the night before came in and vandalized some stuff. And,
well, I wasn't going to go there, but yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. But yeah, it just, coincidence or not, but that stuff never happens on a weekly show. It's always the big show of the year, of course.
Yeah. Well, like my buddy at Seavers Equipment told me, he said, just remember your tractor never breaks unless you're using it.
Right. So one thing, I assume probably the Marlers will be involved. Will they be around to, kind of guide you through the first year, so to speak, or kind of give you what they've done, their experiences on?
Absolutely. And I couldn't ask for any better help or friendship than what they're giving me. I mean, before we got on the phone with you, Sue asked me if I wanted a cup of coffee. So, I mean, we got a great relationship. And, Ray told me, he said, man, I want something to do. He said, could I mow grass? I said, Ray, you can have a key. You can do whatever you want to do. So he's not going nowhere.
Right. Good. It'll be a sad day when Ray and, Sue's not around Peevely.
Well, I think Sue's more ready than Ray, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I could see that. We, my wife and I and her parents, we used to work at Peevely during the Outlaw shows, and we would talk to Sue a lot, and her stress level during the Ironman. Oh my goodness, that poor woman.
I can imagine.
It's rough, and you're going to get a good taste of that in August. Whereas, I mean, you're having an Outlaw show in April also, so that'll be a nice little preview. But the Iron Man's a different ball game.
Yes, it is. Yes, and it's we had this discussion the other day. We got to talking about their grandkids and son-in-law and all that, and their daughter Sherry, and that's what they did, for years and years, and things are going to be different for them, and I get that. I understand that. I mean, when you grow up in something, it's different, and when I do something, I don't. If I say I'm going to reshape the racetrack or something like that, I'm not knocking down anything that any of those people have done. I mean, they've had 30 successful years at Peevely, as far as I'm concerned, and I want 30 more successful years there. But it's been a great relationship kind of between everybody, and I think moving forward, once they realize, hey, somebody else is taking over. I mean, I sold my dad's business that he started, I think a year before I was born, about 8 years ago now, I guess it's been, and I don't like going there. I run it for 5 years after Dad passed, and then our competitors bought us out, which was an auction company, and I run it, and we were successful there. I ended up selling out, and it's nothing against them. They do things different. It ain't the way that I do them. Not that it's wrong, but I just don't like going in the building, and they might feel the same way. I don't know, Mark and Sherry and the kids, and I hope not. I mean, they're welcome to come there anytime, but I understand the feeling of that is where I'm going with this.
Right. Yep. It's got to be tough, for that family, because like I said, that's all they've known, those kids and grandkids, and they've grown up at that track and running that track. So it's definitely going to be life changing for them.
Yes, I would say so.
What classes? I know. Let's go ahead and get on with kind of talking about the track. Are you keeping the classes the same?
Yes, for the most part. Here's something that I'll touch base on that I think some people don't understand. So, like at Brownstown, when we do the B-Mod Nationals or our weekly B-Mod rules, they have a chip. They're going to run a 60 right rear hard tire, and they can run open motors. They can run 4-bar. They got to weigh more, but I've got it there. And I'm going to say there, just in case it doesn't work perfect at Peevely, where crate motors win just as much as an open motor, maybe more. Right. All big shows was won with a crate motor. Yep. Billy Knable was one of them. He won a 1,500, and then Logan Hickerson won the 10,000. It's not as big a deal as everybody is making it. What it's doing is it's given us the opportunity to double our car count, which we can pay more money if we can do that. Now, don't get me wrong, the car count at I-55 is not bad for pro mods, but you can't pay $10,000 and have 30 of them. I mean, if I had a $10,000 pro mod show, I couldn't get near as many cars as we're getting with the B mod. So we can't do it. So what we're going to do is some nights are going to be pro mods. Some nights are going to be B mods at I-55. If I have to, I will adjust a chip or whatever I need to do to make it where those cars are equal. I understand. I know what needs to happen. I mean, we sat down and wrote the rules that's worked so far. So I will figure this out. I mean, I know there's some of these guys that's kind of getting a little bent out of shape about it, but this ain't a big deal. It's given them another opportunity to race for money. Some people don't want that, some do, but it gives us I like an event. So a 2-day show, band afterwards, hang out with your buddy, you know, us three, sit around, drink a beer. I'll be working the racetrack, but you know, back then, that's what I enjoyed. And you know, Jason Hughes, you know, Hughes Race Cars, he told me, he said, I wish that we could go back to events. He said, well, we're there for 2 days, and he said they're really enjoyable. He said, you know, we like them better, and the same way I feel. So I'm trying to bring some of that back, where we get to hang out with our buddies after the races, and you know, get a little more time to enjoy ourselves together. So anyway, that being said, the pro mods and the B mods, the pro mods aren't cut out any night. They can run with the B mods, so they're not losing one night of racing.
Correct. Yeah.
They can come to Brownstown and they can run with the B mods at Brownstown. The guy that run third at the 10,000 to win was Treb Jacoby, 100% legal pro mod. Had the AFCO shocks, had everything, 100% legal, over 100 cars. He made the show and run third. So it's not that big a deal. Like I said, if we go out there and somebody blows somebody's doors off the first couple nights, we're going to have a chip change. Or, you know, if the open motors are I'm seeing it's a problem, I'm going to fix it.
Right.
And then our sportsman class, we're making some rule changes. There was a rumor going around that I was getting rid of sportsmen's. I have no intentions of getting rid of sportsmen's. What I have an intention of doing is growing the class. 12 cars is not a class. That's not cool to me. I want a full field in all my classes. So we're going to make it where almost kind of like the B-Mod Pro Mod deal, where you come in, you run a chip, you add a little weight here or there. You know, we're getting close on it. We're getting ready to post some stuff on it, but we're going to make it where we got 20 cars or 30 cars. And I mean, that's why I'm paying $1,000 to win at a couple of these, because I want some guys to come and race with us. And nothing against the guys that's there, but I mean, tell me they don't want to race for $1,000 or $2,000, but we can't do it with 12 cars.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, with 12 cars, they don't even pay their own purse. So you really lose money with 12 cars. Yeah. And then I've added the factory stocks in some this year, which race at Brownstown and Highland and those places. So you'll be able to run both tracks and enjoy yourself. It's not an every week thing. I think there is 8 nights maybe that they get to come and run I-55, and they've never been there. And I've had a lot of them that's like, hey man, we love this. That's cool. We want to come race there. We've always wanted to race there. So I think that's going to be a pretty good success as far as what happens there too.
So back to you know, the B or the pro mods is does anywhere else other than Peevely run what they call a pro mod? I know.
Yeah, Highland runs pro mods, and it's, you know, it's the same ones that come run with us too. I mean, it's like I said, it's not a huge deal unless you make it a huge deal. And right. We're gonna make everybody in the pro mod and the B mod run a 60 right rear. That's the hard tire. What that does is the guys with the big motor, that just cripples them just a little bit more and puts everybody on an even playing field. And what it also does is, so a guy told me, he goes, oh, you're gonna put 60s on everybody. Kyle Helmick, I have a new 60 every week. I said, Kyle Helmick's gonna have a new 30 every week. What does it matter? Right. The guys that's buying a new tire are buying a new tire if they can afford to do it. But the guy that runs, say, 5th through 10th or 5th through 20th, whatever, that's not buying a new tire, now can run the same tire maybe half the season. I mean, if he don't care, you know, I mean, there are guys that come there that just come to have fun, and they buy a tire when they need to buy a tire. And a B-Mod class is supposed to be an economical class. It's close to being out of hand, but it's not, and we're trying to keep it from going there. So I think that the 60 thing is going to work. It worked last year for us, and I think that once it happens, they're going to kind of get used to it, and I think that they'll agree with it. And if it's not the right choice, I'll fix it. I mean, I'm the guy that you can talk to me. I don't want to talk to you the first night about changing it, because I'm going to have to see that there's an issue with it. And if I'll call my guys that are that win and go, hey, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? And I'm going to probably even do some testing before the season opens if I can, to get a good B mod and a good pro mod out there, and just try a few different things and see what happens. So I just so I know going in what I'm looking for and what the possible changes might need to be, and I can prepare myself for that.
Well, racers, they don't like change. It don't matter what it is. They don't like change.
Well, that's true. Yes.
So that's going to be a big kickback. As far as the B mod and pro mod goes, I don't get up to Peevely often. I know down here at Empire, Farmington Empire, you got the open B mods. You got a mixture of crates, open motors, and I don't have the stats off the top of my head, but the crates are just as fast as the open most nights, and we actually had this past year a couple different nights where crate B mods won, and the A mods are run top 3 with A mods at Farmington. So I think
we had a couple nights at Brownstown that the B mods was faster in the feature than the A mods.
Yeah, that's how it was down here. There was a couple of different times. Cody Savage, which I believe Cody has an open motor. I know he won an A mod show. Colin Palmer, I believe, won an A mod show in a crate. So I don't think it's going to matter either way. But guys just don't like change.
They don't, and don't get me wrong. There's going to be a night that it rained all week and it's heavy, and that big motor is probably going to be a little bit better, especially in the heat race. But We're going to try to make that work. But myself, I would rather have, say, 2 nights a year that I was a little undermotored, but I've got 8 big shows to go race throughout the year, and 2 events and some 2-day shows and stuff, than 2 nights. So we got a points deal that we're going to change up here a little bit. I don't want to quite touch base on it yet, but when it's ready, I would actually do another interview with you guys if you want to kind of explain it all. So, but I don't have the details worked out, so I don't want to open my mouth yet.
We would be up for that. We're our big thing on this podcast. Him and I are race fans, and we want to promote our local racing. This kind of the idea behind this is just to promote all local racing, all local tracks, and that doesn't necessarily mean local to Farmington. We've kind of branched out. We consider anybody within several hours a local track. So anytime you want to come on to talk about anything, just let us know. We'd be happy to have you on.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. And I will do that because it's going to be a little bit in depth. So if I could explain it on here, that might be the best way to do it.
Yeah, and it seems like these, we have it lined up. We're trying to get a good handful of promoters, but after we had Daryl from Farmington last week, it was so informational, and I think so many people that are going to listen to it are going to see the behind the scenes and maybe not be so, I don't really know how to put it, not bitch as much, to be honest, because they're going to see. He explained so much stuff that people don't really understand. And then already in this interview, you've already told so much stuff about the classes and the cars that people don't know about. And maybe they're going to be like, oh man, I don't need to talk about that right now, because I listened to that podcast and I actually seen the promoter on there that he explained that a little different. So maybe, last week was really, really fun. And I can already tell this one's going to be really informational. We've had so much positive feedback when we have, we've had a lot of racers on here, but so far the promoter deal, people are really interested in hearing that because they don't get to talk to you as much. People in the stands, they may never see you. So they don't know anything but what they see. And to just clip on here and listen for a little bit, I think last week helped. And I think this week's going to be awesome. We're trying to get a couple others on. And once people see all this, it helps them realize the racing and how much, I guess, trials and tribulations that you guys actually do go through. And they don't see how many people really are on your freaking butt every week
Absolutely. Yes.
about something stupid like, hey man, did you see that rock in 3? There was a rock over there in 3, and you guys didn't get that off the track.
Yeah.
Well, no, we
Yeah.
didn't see it.
Or the cheeseburgers are too cold.
Yeah, something like that.
Yes.
I mean, but these have been so good, and we really appreciate it, and I know it's just going to help you. It's going to help us. It's going to help everybody understand everything, and it's been so much fun. So that's why we kind of got into the whole promoter deal. And I didn't think that. I thought the promoter, when we had them on, we were just going to be like, this is cool. We're talking about track, but man, last week just blew up, and I know this one's going to be even bigger, and it's I think it really helps the fans put in perspective what really goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
it's pretty good.
Yes. I agree with you. I think it's good sometimes to do something like this for the fans. I do a lot of my own track prep. So a lot of times, like when the drivers meeting is going on, if I leave the track, somebody does something stupid. I'll just use that word, but they do something they're not supposed to do. So the big joke is I got 2 rules that when I'm not at the racetrack, nobody takes a tractor or equipment on the racetrack. And rule number 2 is, in case you forget, rule number 1, do not take a piece of equipment on my racetrack. So a short story here, but one of my main guys, I asked him, I said, hey, I got to go get some truck parts. I said, would you run out and water the racetrack? It was a Thursday night at Brownstown. And I said, there ain't nothing you can do today that I can't fix in the morning. So just water it. Well, I pull up, it's dusk. The sun's just going down. I mean, I see the tractor coming down the front straightaway, and it's straight. And I got this, I don't know if you ever seen my big roller, but I got a big solid roller that is like 16 foot wide, and I can roll the track real quick with it, but it's solid. And he's coming around the turn, or coming around the straightaway, down the straightaway, and the roller is next to the tractor, and it looks like a squeegee pushing water out both sides. And I had to calm myself down for a minute, but I got him off the racetrack, and I go, what are you doing? And he gave me this reason of why he thought that was going to work. And it was noon the next day before I could get it fixed. I mean, we had a monsoon with the water truck, and we always make a joke. It was the night we almost got rained out with the water truck.
I always thought it would be pretty cool if, when you're if I owned a track or something, I know you'd get lynched for it or something, but when the track's just awesome and everybody's like, man, this is good. And in the middle of the night, just get the water truck and like the tiller out and just have them go out there, do one lap. Cause right when they pull on the track, those drivers are gonna be like, what's he doing? But then just have them do one lap with not doing nothing. Don't even do anything. Just drive around the track and pull off just so those guys can feel a little bit of trouble that they give you every week. I thought if I was a promoter, I'd take it out there, get a skid steer, act like I'm getting ready to do something, and then just pull right off just to make sure that they all feel the heart attack that they give you every week when you do something barely wrong.
Some of them do that, I will tell you. Did you see the video I posted of the new track prep machine?
Oh yeah, I love those things. I love those.
Tell us about that. I as soon as we start talking track prep, that was in my head, and I'm like, hey, we need to bring that up. So tell us about that.
So it's got carbide teeth on every one of them little, I don't know what you'd call them. They ain't blades, but the little scarifiers that come down, I guess you'd call it. And there's a carbide teeth on the end of every one of them, and it'll cut right through the black.
Oh,
so we're going to be able to do track prep in probably half the time between, like let's say the Mod's Gone Wild, where we got a couple hundred modifieds. We're going to take and between after, and I'm going to list it ahead of time so they know. After 10 heat races, we're going to take that around the track, water it, run it in. And then, because I know it sucks when you're at a big show like that, and the promoter comes out while you're in lineup, and the track's dry, and you set your car up for it, and then he pulls on the racetrack and reworks it. So we're gonna try to list it like ahead of time at like that show. But like the World Outlaw show, instead of having an hour-long intermission to get the track redone, I want to cut it down to 20 minutes, but probably 30 is more realistic. But even at that, I really like to get our people home. It's something that I've been proud of at Brownstown. One night I think we went after midnight in the last 2 years, so I'm happy with that. I mean, that's been a great show, and it's respectful for our neighbors. They like it. They can go to bed too. They don't have to listen to that.
Right.
Yeah. Every time we go to big shows or anything and I see any kind of tiller machine or anything like what I seen that picture of you on there, when they bring that thing out, man, I'm just like, oh yeah, it's getting ready to get juicy, man. I love when that machine comes out, man.
Yeah.
It's like you just started all over and people are just going to be ripping it.
Right.
Well, to keep the track from taking rubber.
Yeah.
Like last night at Volusia, me and Ray was sitting there and I said, uh-oh, it's starting to take rubber. When I seen him move off the cushion, and most of them wouldn't have made it another lap. Did you see the tires?
Oh yeah.
I did see the top three, and gravel especially. His was showing cords. I'm like, I don't add another half lap.
No.
And it amazed me. I'm gonna talk Kyle Larson here, but his tire, it wasn't good by no means, but his throttle control is so great because his tire still had 10, 15 laps left in it, whereas Shoehart and gravel, theirs was done.
I mean, they're trying to catch the fastest man in the world. Though.
True.
So they're on it.
Yeah. So, did you get a chance to talk to Kyle Larson while you're in Florida?
I did not.
I would love to see, I don't know what the NASCAR schedule is, but man, I'd love to see him as well as you would too. Him pull through the gates in April. That would be wild.
Yeah. And he's liable to show up anywhere.
Right. Yeah. Or the Iron Man, he usually doesn't, announce where he's going much. So
right.
You might be just as surprised as the fans, but
he usually,
that's not a bad thing. It kind of gets people, hey, you think he'll be there? We better go and see if he's there.
Right.
That's better than them saying they're coming and they're not. Cause I've had, not him, but I've had people, hey, we're going to be there. We're going to be there. And then, hey, where you at? Oh, well, we got this going on.
So funny story here. Years ago, I want to say it's been about 20 years ago now. We had Danny Lasowski was supposed to come in for the Queens Royal here at Farmington. He called the track promoter at the time and said, hey, I want to help you out. I want to do a radio interview with you. Promote that I'm there. Let's get the fans in the stand. So he went on the radio, done all these interviews. Race day showed up. He never showed up. So then, the fans crucified the promoter on the internet. You said he was coming, and it was a lie just to get us there. And I know that stuff doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I have a guy that's on my list big time. When I was a kid, my dad made me mow some grass because this guy was coming to Farmington, and it was going to be $30 to get in, which back then was crazy. Well, he was like, hey, Sammy Swindell's coming to Farmington. They announced it all week. He goes, but I was young, and my dad's like, but it's a lot of money to get in. So I mowed some grass. I got my money and everything, and we went. He never showed up, and now he's the hatedest man in the world. I would like to go mow his freaking grass. I'd put rocks through the windows, man. He cost me $30 when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and that was like 10 grand now.
But hey,
I remember, I'm going to say late 80s. I was a little kid. My mom and dad promoted Godfrey Speedway in Godfrey, Illinois. And I remember him coming in and racing Sammy Swindell. And to me, it was just like God just come to our house. Yep. You know what I mean? It's like it was really cool, and the fans liked it. And it's I still remember it. It's been 30 something years ago.
That's wild. It's he's still racing a little bit, but man, he's about done.
When I went to Chili Ball, I almost thought about giving him a bill for $30 from having to mow grass back in 1987.
My wife's not. She enjoys racing, but we don't get into it a whole lot. But she's a Sammy lover, and I'm a Sammy hater. So I'm going to be sad once he hangs it up because we won't have that to argue about anymore.
Right.
She always says you can't count out Sammy, and I'm like, yeah, only because he's going to wreck half the field.
Oh, man.
But he's fun to watch. Let's go ahead and kind of go over the schedule. I know we got a lot of stuff to talk about there.
Okay.
So we got 2 test and tunes on March 22nd and April 2nd. So hopefully those, go. That'd be a good chance for you to learn the dirt, and
Yes.
like you said, that's going to be a big change, from the Brownstown dirt to the Peevely dirt there. So hopefully you get a couple nights of practice there.
Yeah. I mean, I need to. It's not like it's all new there, so we are going to move some around. But if the weather will cooperate with me, that'd be great. Um, I hope that it'll work out. I don't know if we get this other snow, it's going to be. If it sticks around, it ain't going to be pretty. We'll have to make a decision then what we're going to do. But I've got some good track prep guys. Brad Steinkenny's a good friend of mine. He's been a lot of help for me, and Aaron Dregge's been a lot of help for me. And my buddy Doug, he'll do half of what I tell him, and half of what he wants to do. But if I'm there, I can usually stop him. And so we had a articulating tractor, and we'd go around Brownstown the same way and, go slow. And the slower you go with a sheep's foot, the more it does. So I've been going the same way 3 or 4 hours. And I told Doug, I stopped in the middle straightaway and I said, hey, go ahead and do that for a couple more hours. He turns it around right in the middle of the front straightaway. So just figure taking a fork and putting it in the pie and turning it around. That's what he did to the racetrack, but about a 12-foot section. And I didn't get that completely fixed before the race, but I got it where you could drive over it. How about that? But it's just something simple like that takes you longer to fix than anything. I mean, it gets really aggravating when somebody does something like that.
Well, that, and you kind of have you have your routine, you have your day planned. So when somebody does something like that, and then adds another 6 hours of work,
yes,
that throws everything off.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. And there's a right time to work dirt when it's at the right, when you can compact it right and stuff. I mean, don't go home. That's not. You can do more in 12 hours when that dirt's right than you can all week when it's not. So if it's right, we're there until we're done. And that has really worked for me. But I've got a lot of equipment, and I've got a couple guys that'll stay with me until it's not time to go home, but until the job's done.
And one thing we've kind of touched on is the internet, and everybody on the internet's a track prep expert, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of, there's a lot of reasons I wouldn't want to be a promoter. You got to have thick skin, but the track prep is, man, it's brutal.
Well, they hired me to do Highlands track prep for the World Outlaws last year. And when I got there wasn't nobody there all day. And then these people start coming in, and the people that's normally there, hey, we got to do this, we got to do that. And I said, no, just leave them tires where they're at. And this one guy, I don't know his name, but he was really adamant that we had to move those tires. So I thought, man, I got to keep this guy from moving them tires. So finally I said, listen, we're going to hot lap like this, and then we're going to move them tires where you want them, but not yet. We got to get the track right. So I appeased him. He said, okay. Well, then finally when they started racing and he seen that it was working, I didn't have to explain myself no more. But I mean, he was, hey, we got to do this and we got to do that. But it turned out really good. And, it was a lot of work when we got started, but we got it where it needed to be, and they had a great show, and that's what matters.
So one question I have is, how do you prep a track differently? If you're going to have late models and modifieds, how do you prep it differently if you're going to have sprint cars, midgets? Do you prep it differently?
The more bigger tires you can put more water on. Like nights that we don't run late models, we'll put probably half the water on, because if you get it too heavy, the modifieds can't move the cushion up the track. So then that's when you get the cushion, and it's 12 foot down on the racetrack, and it's not wide enough to race. So you put less water and then there ain't as much cushion. And then if it's, 4 foot from the wall, they'll knock it up a couple feet, and we'll have some good racing. The late models will move it. They can move a 10-foot cushion to 4 foot, as long as it ain't, too thick.
Right.
But that's the main thing, just knowing what's coming and knowing how many cars is coming. So like I do track rentals, where guys rent the track to come test. And when a guy tells me, hey, I got 10 cars coming and 2 show up, that's a problem. I mean, if you tell me how you want the track, I can get it that way. But I have to know everything that, I work with Randy Cordy a lot. He does Randy Cordy Consulting. He used to be a big late model guy. And, but he's been, do what?
King Kong Cordy.
That's right. He, one of the most memorable times in my life, I was about 16 years old. My dad was running Godfrey Speedway. I'd won the championship in the street stocks. And I told Randy, I said, after you win a feature, when that car's right, I just want to drive it one time. And he let me.
Wow.
And I still remember that today. I mean, it was just awesome that I got to get in his car because, when I was a kid, I thought the world of him. I still think the world of him. He's a good guy. He helps a lot of people. And, when he rents the racetrack, that's for the testing sessions. He's got a lot of guys he helps. So, they'll get 8 or 10 of them, split it all up. But if I think that 10 of them's coming and 2 or 3 of them show up, the track is not the way he wanted it, so I try to make it that way. But if I don't have the right information, I can't.
Makes sense. All right. So I know we got off track there, but we'll go ahead and get on schedule.
All right.
Probably won't be the last time we get off track.
That's true.
Yeah. So opening night is scheduled for April 5th, and that is a farewell to Ken Schrader and Ray Marler. So you got something special planned that night, or do you want to talk?
Yes. I haven't got the trophies made yet, but when I do, they're going to be the coolest thing you could ever hang in your garage.
We got us a new sponsor for the Dirty Right Rear podcast. Box 3 Media provides race teams across the U.S. with social media management, graphics for race days, sponsor announcements, professionally written press releases, exclusive product partnerships, and so much more. Take your reach and exposure to the next level for your team and your sponsors. Contact Lauren Kelly with Box 3 Media today by emailing box3racing@gmail.com or calling 920-905-0268.
Hey guys, this is Jeremy Booyer and Jeremy Sutton here with the Dirty Right Rear podcast. We want to highlight one of our sponsors, supporters, and everything else with Expert Graphics, Powder Coating, and Fabrication. Expert Powder Coating and Fabrication is a family-owned business out of Farmington over in the industrial park. You can go over there and get some graphics, lettering, anything for your race cars. Get some powder coating done for your race cars, any other kind of stuff. Get any kind of fabrication also done with them. You can come over there and talk to Andy Moss. He's in there just plugging away at the computer, designing everything, doing whatever he can. You got Dennis in the back with his lab coat, mixing up the powder coat, really getting the stuff going. And then you got Dan over there just fabricating anything and everything you want. But if you want to hit them up, Expert Powder Coating over in Farmington at the industrial park, you can give them a call, 573-756-7324.
So I don't have the trophies made yet, but they're going to be the coolest trophy you could ever hang in your garage when we get them. So it's going to be, it's a tribute to those guys and everything they've done there for the last 30 years. And it's going to be something that I would say every racer would want to hang in their shop.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So then the next week, nothing like throwing you to the fish right away. We got the World of Outlaw sprint cars and B mods on Friday night and A mods on Saturday night.
If the weather cooperates with me, I'm not worried at all. I got Ray and Sue to help me with concessions and tell me what I need to do there and get things ready. I mean, we got their record, so that's not the end of the world. I mean, we've done this. It's just a little different scale. Right. And as long as the biggest thing with the track's the weather right now. And I really want to get it the way that I want it. I'll use that word so I don't offend nobody, but I want to get the track the way that I want it. And then if we can get that done, I'm not worried about this. We got it.
So one question, Peevely has a huge grandstand, and do you know off the top of your head, like what is a numbers wise a crowd for an outlaw show? Do you have any idea?
Well, they have sold it out several times, and there's seating for 7,000.
Wow. So how does that compare to Brownstown?
We've got seating for a couple thousand.
That's what I
So
thought.
it's a lot smaller scale. Now the other way to look at that is we got 4 concession stands at Peevely, and we've got 1 at Brownstown. So if you figure you got 4 times the people, you just got to do the same thing you're doing there. You just do it 4 times.
I've been to Brownstown, but it was a MOA show back when MOA first started, so
Okay.
we're looking at 20 years ago, and I don't remember a lot about the track, so I couldn't remember what the seating was like. But that is one thing I'm glad that Ray and Sue are going to be there to help with concessions, because that alone, where you go for, let's say, an average night of 1,500 fans to 6,000 to 7,000, like, whew,
Right.
it could be easy to run out of stuff, but at the same time, you don't want to order too much.
That's right. And well, it doesn't really matter at the beginning of the year. I mean, most of it comes in froze. So, if you get 20 extra cases of hamburger, we'll use them the next week.
Yeah, that's true. I know I'm looking forward to that Outlaw show, man. There ain't much better on dirt than sprint cars at Peevely.
That's what I hear that from everybody. And that makes me happy. I mean, it really does. I'm just glad that the guys worked with me, and we got this deal done. Really, I mean, it's exciting for me, and I can remember, me and my dad, after Godfrey closed, talked about buying Montgomery Speedway, and we talked about building a racetrack, and we always talked about buying a racetrack, and Dad's gone now; he's been gone since 13, but I often think, man, he'd be just thinking this is awesome.
Yeah, I bet. That's cool that you guys, had that together, and you've kept it going, and you're not slowing down, you're just getting bigger. So that's awesome to see.
Ken Schrader told me one time, I like to tell this, a guy called him and he said, "Hey, Kenny," he said, "I'm moving up in classes." He said, "I'm going from sportsman to B mods." He said, "No, son, you're committing to spend more money. You're not moving up."
Isn't that the truth?
It is. I mean, if you really think about it, and me and Kenny, we send each other texts and mess with each other all the time, and always got something going on. And I tell you what, that guy can always come up with something. I mean, just when you think you got him, he's got some other bullshit that he come up with that just blew yours out of the water, and we have a lot of fun together.
My grandpa told me a story one time, and my grandpa likes to exaggerate things, so I don't know how much truth there is to this, but years ago, Kenny took my aunt out on a date, and my grandpa told him, "You have her here on this front porch at 11 o'clock. Well, he did. He dropped her off literally on the front porch, went through the yard doing donuts, and made sure he had her at the front porch at 11 o'clock. So, my grandpa likes to stretch the truth a little bit, so I don't know how much truth there is to that, but it sounds like a good story.
Right. Well, maybe Kenny will hear this and remember that, and I'm going to have to let you know.
Yeah, I've never thought to ask him, but I should.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you're right.
Oh, I was just going to go on with the next night, but if you got a story to share.
Nope, you're good.
So we got weekly racing April 19th. That's the 4 main classes with the kids mods. Or, I'm sorry, 5 classes, late models and kids mod. April 26th, another weekly night, and that night no kids mods, but we have the factory stocks coming in for their first show of the year. Then we go on to May. We got May 3rd. Kids mods are back with the other 5 classes. May 10th. Let's see, just the normal 5 classes, weekly show. May 17th, got the vintage cars coming in along with the kids mods. And let's see, no 4 cylinders that night, I believe. Yep. No A
Yeah,
model.
there's 4 cylinders. Which one
No,
you on?
yeah, okay. It's no late models. I'm sorry, May 17th.
Yeah, no late models.
Yeah, no late models. And then so then we go May 31st, 1200 to win, crate late model. So tell us about that, Joe.
So May the 30th at Brownstown, I gotta find it, is 1,000 to win crate late models. So the crate late model guys had been messaging me for the last couple of years wanting to show, and there's a lot going on that weekend. There's big races and stuff. So instead of running regular late models, I thought I'd give them a shot, and if they support me, maybe we'll run them a couple times for next year.
Yeah, that's awesome. Then the following week is Mods Gone Wild, 10,000 to win A mods and 5,000 to win B mods. Go ahead and tell us about that show.
It's going to be I think a pretty cool deal in the end. I think we're close to half sold out on entries already, and we just opened it. So I know the B mods are half sold out, and the A mods was coming along pretty good. So we're going to do something a little different, only because we're having so many cars, or expecting so many cars. We're going to test and tune on Thursday, and then we'll rework the whole racetrack about 8 o'clock. And then I'll let everybody qualify Thursday night. So then Friday, you won't have to watch 200 cars qualify. If it got late, we could do one class Thursday night and one class Friday, or, we'll work on it with how many cars we got and try to figure it out. But I think with this new track prep machine that, I'll just let them practice and go out there about 15, 20 sessions. We'll work the track, put some water on it, and just keep it moist. And I think it'll be a heck of a show.
How many modifieds in each class are you capping it at a certain amount you're going to let in, or?
We're going to cap the A mods at 150 and the B mods at 125.
Dang, wow, that's crazy, man. That you already have half of a field.
Yes,
insane, man. If you feel both classes, 275 modifieds on premises, where are you going to park them all?
There's 160 acres there. We'll find somewhere.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That is true. There's a lot of campground down there along the river and stuff. So
yes.
Yep. So then Friday night you'll run the heat races, and then you have a band afterwards. It looks like.
Yep.
And then Saturday will be I guess Saturday will be all the consolation races and things like that. So
yep.
That will be a good show.
Yeah, I mean, I know you don't know us, but we talk about a lot of different stuff, but mostly our backgrounds. I ran micros for years, and I always chased around midgets and got to run sprint car a little bit. So we're big sprint car and all this guys. Well, then when we started this podcast, I had to go to the dome because I was like, I got to go to the dome. I've been before a couple different times, and when it very first started, and it just wasn't a great experience for me, just because first year was crazy. Then the ice storm and all that stuff happened, and I was like, I ain't going back. Well, then we started all this, so I was like, I'm going to go back. Well, now that I've kind of schmoozed a little bit with modified guys and just the random things, I see these names. Like I was fishing all this week, and we watched everything from Evolution. I was like, man, these modified guys, I don't know if I feel like I'm a traitor, but I know half of these guys' names now. And
right.
So seeing all these modified shows and everything, I'm almost half tempted. Like I want to go to some of these, and I'm afraid that my sprint car guys are going to try to beat me up out back.
But you can still argue it's open wheel.
Yeah, it is. But just starting this and getting to, I guess I never had a personal, fan club of the modified, except for, one of my real good friends is Billy Smith. And he, I own his kid's micro. He runs a restricted micro for me, and Billy's kind of done with it. But I get to meet Kenny Wallace, a couple different times, and, and do stuff like that. And so I follow, Kenny's stuff just because I feel like I've met him.
Speaking of Kenny Wallace, did you see him last night at Volusia?
I thought he was going to end up getting up and battling for the lead.
I did too. I
got
did
in
too.
second, and I'm like, oh my God.
He was blowing him. I guess maybe something, he didn't stick the bottom a couple good laps and he got kind of past a couple cars. But man, if he would have hit that same spot the last probably 5 laps, he'd have been battling for that lead.
I was like, dude, that is awesome.
I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, he impressed me last night. I'll tell you what, Kenny is, whether you love him or hate him, Kenny is good for our sport.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
You know, I will just throw it out there like it is. His bullshit is the best. I mean, it's 9 times out of 10 is politically correct, and it got told how it really needed to get told without offending anybody.
Oh yeah.
Right.
When I watch all his videos and all his stuff, and his podcast stuff or whatever you want to call his he just gets on there and talks about it, all kinds of crap.
Yeah.
You know? So I kind of take after that, and I'm like, I kind of want to be like him and Joe Rogan too, all together. So
I always liked his quarter panel report when he was doing that for a while, the quarter panel report. And I don't get to watch all of them anymore, but you know, what he's telling you, there might be a little bit of a story getting there, but listen to it.
Yep.
Because he's telling you what you need to know, and he's telling you the truth. Yep. You know, it's he don't sugarcoat it. He just politically correct tells you.
His coffee with Kenny thing he does in the morning just for a little bit of, you know, just to talk crap and do whatever he wants. You know, he wakes up and messes his hair up just for that.
Oh, absolutely.
No, he's like, okay, it looks really bad now. Now let's do this.
Yeah.
I did
That's
like
for sure.
Kenny this week talking about the format down there, which was wild, man.
Yeah, I don't that format. I tried to follow it all week, and I mean, I guess you can follow it, but man, it just
you better have a paper and a pencil.
Yeah, it don't seem fair sometimes. It seems weird.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still. I mean, almost all the guys did kind of rise to the top
they did
thought or whatever. I can't believe that. That one wreck, man. That one guy sat upside down for like 5 minutes. I'd have passed out.
You know, Brandon Shepard did that at Macon last year, and I don't know. You ain't got no choice while you're in there, but
yeah,
that ain't cool. You know, we had a little meeting with our guys after that, you know, about what we're gonna do, and you know, I don't know. You know, the record guys, the ambulance guys are always worried about getting the car turned back over in case somebody's hurt. Well, yeah, I agree with that. No, I don't agree with that. You know, I mean, they can't get out like that, so we obviously got to do something.
I did see though, it was pretty cool. I don't know, it was probably one of the medic people, but that lady was laying down in the dirt with him the whole time. So I mean, I think he was probably talking to him and just making sure, because I mean, you sit upside down like that, you're gonna pass out. I mean, there ain't no way around it.
I sat like that for 30 minutes Monday morning.
Well, yeah, but you just wrecked your car. That was cool. You were all fired up still.
Oh man, that was wild. Yeah, Monday morning I was heading to work and decided to smoke a deer, flip over, hit a telephone pole, and I was upside down for 30 minutes, and it was this guy's birthday. Well, a good friend of ours, Brad Loyette, tagged me in a post and said, hey, Jeremy Booyer, I think Jeremy Sutton was trying to give you an upside down cake for your birthday.
I said, no, when he showed up my cake, it was just wrecked.
Yeah, it was wrecked. But yeah, that I just had to throw that in there. But that was,
you know, something that I seen done at Vado. If you watch the Vado New Mexico race, and every racetrack in the United States should make this a standard. When you're stopped and a guy's working on your car, an official, they lay the yellow flag in front of the driver, and that driver don't move until that flag's moved. And it's something simple that doesn't cost you anything. And hell, I never thought of it, but I guarantee you that'd be in place at both of my racetracks this year. And I really hope that every track in the United States follows that.
Yeah, I've always been afraid, you know, guys, they'll have their hand on the right rear tire trying to pull the body off. And I'm like, man, what if that guy thinks it's fixed and takes off and slices your hand off?
Yes.
It could very easily happen.
Yes, absolutely. We've thought all that, you know, and I'll go up to a guy, you know, give him the wait a minute, you know, kind of right. thing. But you still think he don't know how long you're there. Well, is he still there? I'm going to take off, you know?
Right. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and
Yeah, I knew once we started talking about Kenny Wallace, it was going to get a little. There was going to be some kind of story. So we'll get back to schedule.
but I did see I did see Kenny can't be at Mods Gone Wild, but I did tell him that he's got an appearance. But I told him it ain't too late to cancel that appearance. He needs to be at the Mods Gone Wild.
Well, he told me that, it's just a family vacation. I said, well, we just got to move it a couple days, Kenny. He said, Kim would kill me.
Right?
I said, well, bring her to the races.
Oh man.
Yeah. All right. So after that, the following week, we got another big show. We got the IRA sprint cars coming to town. We had the announcer for the IRA series on with us 2 weeks ago.
Yep, 2 weeks ago.
And we hit that show a lot.
And he said those guys are really, really pumped up about that.
Yeah. I've heard people here at Volusia talking about it, that they're excited to come there for that. So I actually think that's going to be a little bit of a hidden gem race, maybe you'd want to call it. It's probably going to be one hell of a sprint car race that, maybe that isn't advertised or thought of that way.
Yeah, and they doubled down with Jacksonville the night before, I believe, and then you guys on Saturday, and I think that'll bring in all their regulars, and then Jacksonville has a good 410 following, and then I'm sure Saturday, I think Daryl, he's not running that night, so the 410 following from Farmington, you'll handpick some of those. I think that could be a 40 car show.
I'd almost lay good money on it that you'll have more sprint cars at that IRA show than the Outlaw show.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yep.
Well, and yeah, I understand that. Just like I got people that will ask me, hey, where's Harrison going? Because they want to go where he's not. Right.
Right.
And I don't blame them. That's another guy you can't count out. He can be running 12th, and you're like, this ain't going to end well. 3 yellows later, he's third, and you're like, oh, here we go. So it's I don't know. You just never know.
Yep. Let's see, with the IRA show, you're running sprints, 1,000 to win B mods and 500 to win sportsman. So good to see raised purses for all 3 classes.
Well, obviously we raised the gate price to get in for the big races. And when I do that, I always like to raise it for the racer. Because he's paying more to get in, so he's got to get a little bit more out of it. It ain't huge, but it's better than normal, and some of them's over double the normal, and it won't be it's not double more for them to get in, so they're getting more out of it.
Yeah. Then the following week, so we got 3 big shows in a row here. Following the IRA show, we got the Summer Nationals with the World of Outlaw late models coming to town, as well as the Extreme Outlaw Midgets.
Yep.
That's June 20th and 21st.
That'll be a full weekend.
Midgets. Have you ever seen midgets at Peevely?
I have, actually.
Hey, that's, man, a lot of people think, midgets are a small track car, and they really are, but man, the midget shows at Peevely can be phenomenal.
Yeah, they're pretty legit. It's a show.
Guys will start sliding somebody at the flag stand and clear them in turn 2.
Right.
It's wild. They'll clear 6 cars in one slider.
You almost gotta, run a midget at Peeville, you almost gotta, throw your balls outside the window and just not even worry about them because it's sketchy. It's sketchy.
Yeah, that it is. So then we'll move on to July 5th. We got a 2,000 win B-Mod show. Man, you're packing it in there.
It's those trucking companies. I'm telling you, man.
Well, the B-Mod guys have been big supporters of me. I was kind of the first guy in the area to do several events for them a year, and they really supported me. And I support people that support me. Just like our Brownstown 100 last year, I paid $3,000 to win for modifieds. 22 of them showed up. I lost money. So This year we don't have the modifieds on there. And the week before I had 30 for 700. So, it's, you can't ever figure it out. But when you're having big purses together, like when you do a 10,000 win late model and then you do a 3,000 win modified, you've got to have car count to pay that purse.
Right.
So it's I've had a few people text me, "Hey, why ain't the mods running?" Well, I didn't get enough of them. I mean, I lost a little money on the show, and what I figured up that I lost was the mod money. So it's just something we got to work with. Some races do, and some races don't. So some races are going to have mods, some aren't, and we'll just see how that works this year.
So we'll move on. We got July 12th. Man, just a boring weekly show. No, after 4 big shows, we have a weekly racing with your normal 5 classes. Then we come back the following week with another banger: 5,000 to win Mars late model, 2,000 to win Mars modified show.
Yep, that's going to be another good show. I mean, the Mars has got a great following. It's really picked up steam this year, especially with the MLRA Lucas deal going away. So I expect large car counts at these, and I think it'll be a huge success.
The Mars late model series always puts on a good show there. I've went the last 2 years, I think, and it's been a good show.
Yep, I actually have went to that show, and man, when those late models put on a good show at Peevely, it's pretty awesome.
Yep.
Yes,
I like to see the sparks fly though. The sparks flying.
Yeah,
they ain't putting on a good show.
That's true.
The following week we have Christmas in July, which is basically your version of fan appreciation.
Yes, we're going to do that the Friday at Brownstown before, so it'll be back to back, and we give away bicycles, candy, have nickel races and stuff for the kids, and that'll be a great night also. And
the following week after that is probably the best, in my opinion, the best weekend of the year, the Ironman.
That's the race of the race.
Yep, that's the cream of the crop there.
Yep. That 55 lap sprint car race at Peevely. I've been there a couple of times when it's went green to checkered, and oh my goodness, that is insane.
Ray was telling me last night, I think it was 83 laps with cautions they can go without running out. So they watch that, and if it's going to be close or get to that number, I guess they do a pit stop.
Yeah. Yep. I always wondered what that number was. I never asked anybody or anything, but man, when they go green to checker 55 laps, it's just insane. It goes so fast.
It does. It really does. I mean, well, you figure they're going around there, and I don't know what the time is on them there. Probably 14 seconds, 13 seconds.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, by time feature time, we're probably
yeah. Because I think what Larson run 9.9. That video I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
That's a 9.9, but I think they're probably around 12 or 11.
But still, it don't take long.
The qualifying, watching each one of them go out there and do a 10-second lap almost, it's just sickening.
Right? Yes, I agree with you.
I would, and a smart guy could probably figure out, but I would love to see a radar gun. I want to see how fast those cars go down the back straightaway into turn 3.
Yeah, I don't even have a clue, man. I mean,
so we ran micros at Brownstown a couple times, and they was over 100 mile an hour on the back straightaway, and one of them flipped and the cage collapsed, and I just canceled the rest of the shows because they was really too fast. And I'm a big safety guy. I don't want to get anybody hurt, and I just we don't have the fence that we need for the open wheel stuff at Brownstown. That's why they're not there. People call me all the time, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? No, I got to get a fence up, Then 2 weeks later, have you got a fence up yet? No. If you want to give me $50,000 though, I'll put a fence up and we'll run your show.
Yeah.
So
when we ran micros, I mean, long time ago, that was definitely my scariest, not really scary, but that was the fastest I've ever done it. That was for sure.
Yes.
That's wild.
We need to, Daryl from Farmington, he said every time those guys tell him, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, he says, well, put your money where your mouth is and we'll do it,
Right.
Yeah. So after the Ironman 55, we have 3 weeks of weekly racing. August 16th, normal 5 classes plus the kids mods. August 23rd, weekly racing with modified, the 4 classes, no late models that night. Then we close out the weekly August 30th with late models, modifieds, pro mods, sportsmen, and 4-cylinders. And then we
Yep.
move on to the Pepsi Nationals in September 12th and 13th. I see you've turned that back into a 2-day show.
Yep.
That'll be good. So the heats are Friday night.
No, it's going to be a little bit of a different deal. We're going to run some things that have a full show that night, and then others are going to pay more and just it'll be a 2-day where they'll run heats the first night and features. That way, we don't have so many races to get in.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Pepsi Nationals, that's always been a big staple of Peevely, and years past that's closed out the season, but not this year. It's, the following week. Can we go ahead and talk about the September 20th ASCS Sprint Car Series?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I don't know that it's going to happen. My hand's falling asleep here holding the phone. I don't know. We're waiting on confirmation from them. So I can't really give you any information on that right now. Probably be a couple weeks before we do that.
Well, that'll be pretty cool. I don't really know of the ASCS coming to Peevely that I can remember.
Not in the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's unless it's been some time I just didn't know. But
yeah,
I mean that'd still be a good deal for that too.
Yep. Then we take a couple weeks off, and then we come back with October 11th. We got a weekly show with the normal 5 classes, and then we come back and to close out the year in November with the Fall Frost Classic. So that's November 6th, 7th, and 8th. Looks like it's headlined by 5,000 win late model, 2,000 win modified, 2,000 win A mod and B mod, and 1,000 to win for sportsmen and pro mods.
That's got to be tough to schedule stuff like October, November-ish, because around here you never know if it's going to be 75 or 12.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
so that's got to be hard. That's got to be hard on you to think, man, I really want to have this, but we could be still wearing shorts, or we could be plowing snow.
That's a fact. I mean, it's just one of them things. We're putting it on the schedule, and I mean, I'm going to do my best to try it. It's kind of something. I kind of use the same format as like the Turkey Bowl.
Yep.
If you're familiar with the Turkey Bowl, Jerry Hoffman, he's a great guy. We've become friends and discussed things on the telephone, and I like what he's doing out there, and I was trying to mimic something like that around here for St. Louis guys.
Yep. Nope, that'd be a good way to end it all off there, man. I mean, that's a schedule for Peevely, man. That's going to be awesome for you, man. I mean, I can't wait to see how it grows and everything gets going. And I mean, that's just, I'm kind of speechless. I mean, it's just a great schedule and everything. And I do have I mean, to get away from the Peevely thing, I did write down, I know, you're still going to follow the Brownstown. We didn't get the whole schedule up like every weekly race, but I got I hit on here probably six or so of your big shows. It looks like March 28th, 29th at Brownstown. You have a 6,000 to win B mod show, and there was a charity thing on there. I didn't really know about, or I didn't quite write it all down, but I didn't know if you could talk about it a little bit, or.
Yeah. So a great friend and sponsor, Low Voltage Solutions. He's a big sponsor of Bobby Pearson, Kenny Wallace, and Garrett Alberson this year. He's a sponsor of ours at the track. He was next door neighbors, and I hope I get this right, with Megan. And then, at a young age, we lost her. And they've kind of did started this organization for her. So it's you don't have to. It's the race to cure cancer, and if the winner, let's say has got a friend or knows somebody that is in another organization that needs assistance, they can donate the money to that too. It just has to go to a kids cancer thing of whatever the choice might be. but he had made some shirts up and stuff, Megan's Mission, and then we got to talking about doing something for her. So we're just kind of making. If you go online, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can read about it, and it'll kind of fill you in. It's a very sad situation that we're trying to make the best of.
Yeah, that's what I got on there, and I was starting to write down some stuff about it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to fill up the whole page." So
Right.
I just wrote it down. I put, make sure you talk about that, and I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, that's cool. I see here the winner of the race will receive 3,000, and then they can donate 3,000 to the charity of their choice. So
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's just gotta be a cancer one. I mean, and like if they wanted to go to the St. Jude's or whatever it might be. I mean, that's going to be up to the driver at that point. We have had some talk of some sponsors that's wanting to kick in some to that also. Maybe and donate to the charity. Nothing confirmed, but there has been some talk about it that if they do the Megan's Mission or something and donate that they would either match or put some money with it. And whether they come through or not, I don't know. I get a lot of people that ask questions, but if you don't ask, you don't get started on it.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah. No, that sounds like a great little deal. I wrote down I guess April 25th, which is the Mars 5,000 to win late model show. So that's probably the show before Peevely. Is that correct?
No.
Not back to back weeks.
Okay.
No.
Let's see.
You got the whole schedule pulled up?
Yeah, I got it here. So we got the April 25th, the Mars 5,000 win late model show. And then let's see.
That's the JCB Digging Dirt 40.
Okay.
So JCB sponsored that race the last several years, and they buy a couple hundred T-shirts, like really cool T-shirts, and the first couple hundred people in the gate get them free.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
That's been a huge success, and they bring some equipment out and display it, and it's been really a really good partnership with them. They've come a long way with helping us with our race cars and the racetrack.
We will. We're running low on time, so we are going to have to skim through this pretty quick. But I see the Brownstown schedule. You guys get the opening night of Summer Nationals.
Yes,
that's awesome. I didn't realize that. So that's
Yep.
June 10th. Has that always started in Brownstown, or is that new this year?
No, actually, it was the Friday that Peevely got, and so this is kind of a funny story. I was with Ray on his golf cart and at Peevely, and he had already told me that they give him my date, and he's like, "I hope you ain't mad at me."